So, what is your full name?
Warren Allen Burlew.
When were you born?
December 7th, 1936.
36. This is like an interview, testing your memory.
Yeah.
So, where were you born?
It was in Walnut Hills. Actually at Christ Hospital.
Christ Hospital.
But my mom had gallbladder problems, and so she had a very difficult pregnancy there, and I wasn't allowed to come home for a long time before she, after her surgery.
Yeah.
And I forget how many stones she had. It was an enormous amount of stones, like 30-some stones. And she brought them home in a bottle, and we got them when she died, but we didn't keep them.
Yeah. Precious gallbladder stones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
she had a rough time.
were you named after anyone?
Yeah, I was. My mother wanted a girl because she had lost a baby girl much earlier than Raymond. And so she wanted a replacement girl.
Yeah.
And so she told the doctor if it wasn't a girl, he was going to have to name it.
Mm-hmm.
And so since I wasn't a girl, he named me Warren because it was his wife's maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
And no, how that worked?
It's his name, wasn't it?
That was his name.
Yeah.
His name was Warren Stromanger.
Hmm.
And his wife's maiden name was Allen.
Warren Allen.
I went along with that story and I heard it so many times. And then one day I happened to be looking through the obituaries. I saw Stromanger on there.
Yeah.
And I looked and I don't remember what her first name was, but it was Allen Stromanger.
Oh,
Which confirmed the whole story.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What were your mother's parents' names?
My grandfather's name was William Rice, just like brown rice,
yeah.
white rice
Yeah.
that you buy in the store. Rice Oatley, Oatley. And my grandmother's name was Anna, and I don't know what her middle name was. She was always Grandma.
Yeah.
But Grandpa went by Rice all the time.
And where did they live?
They lived on the river. Grandpa always loved the river.
Mm-hmm.
So when Mom and Dad bought the house up in Mount Washington, they brought him through, and he says, well, Edner, he says, only one thing wrong with this place. You can't see the river.
Oh.
And,
Loved living by the river.
yeah, he loved it. And so he lived on Gladstone, or and they had a 2-story house. And Aunt Sarah lived on the 2nd floor. And Aunt Sarah had Joan and Charlotte while she was living up there. And they grew, I don't know whether they grew their entire teenage lives up there or not.
Yeah.
But it was always going down to see Aunt Sarah and Grandma and Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have these bands, and they would go around. And there's a picture of that band, and they book over here.
What was your dad's name?
Raymond Burlew. No middle initial.
And where was he from?
He was from Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
the East End.
And
That's where they were raised.
What did he do for a living?
Well, he learned to be a plumber, and then during the recession, the big recession, I think he carried milk for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the aunts let him take care of her apartments that she had.
Mm-hmm.
He had pretty much money, so she would pay him for taking care of all the apartments, the plumbing and all. And so then he finally got a job at plumbing, and he was a plumber the rest of his life. So I think he only had like this three jobs.
Mm-hmm. How did your parents meet? Do you know?
They both lived down in the East End. But as far as how they met, I don't know. But they were on a date one time. They went up to Coney Island. And they were out on the canoes. And they missed the last Island Queen.
Oh no.
And so it was, and there were no phones
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever.
Island Queen, is that a ferry? Or what is that?
The Island Queen was a steamboat that made several trips up and down the Ohio River every night.
Mm.
And they had a calliope, and it was a beautiful sight to see that boat go up and down the river. And they had a dance floor on there, and I guess they would dance. And as they went up, and so they missed the last boat out of the dock there, and so they had to walk home. So they got home. They were parked downtown on the public landing there.
Mm-hmm.
How steep that is there.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, they by the time Grandpa got Grandma home, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and she was just walking up and down. I think he was borrowing his daddy's car, which was a Moon. Well, not a Chrysler or a Dodge or anything that we know, but it was a Moon.
Really? I don't know that I've heard of that.
A Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never heard of a Moon car.
And
Are you sure?
I guess he caught the devil too.
Mm-hmm.
When he got home, he never
Yeah.
talked to me about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the fun part of the story.
Yeah. So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Mount Washington home,
Mount Washington.
where Grandpa said the only one thing wrong with the house. And
Yes,
that,
yeah.
you couldn't see the river.
Yeah. What was your neighborhood like? So you were born in 1936.
6.
What was the
We
30s, 40s like?
We were over in Walnut Hills, and that was just like any other neighborhood, houses.
Yeah.
And it was that trying to think of the name of it, Hackberry Street. And there's a great big Seventh-day Adventist church right on the corner, and we were right next to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that church is still there.
Really?
We were living in the house that we were living at was being torn down one day, and Bobby and I, it was on a Sunday, and we were going to go over to sing with the glad tidings.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a home someplace up there,
Yeah.
and we were going to go to this home, and I said, well, look there, Bobby, there goes my old house that I was born in. Up the street from us was Kaufman Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And at Kaufman Street, there was a school. I got that straight or not, but Hoffman was the name of the school. Hoff. I'm not sure what the name of the street was up there. Brandon and I would go up there in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to watch me. I probably wasn't 4 years old, but I could swim like a fish.
Yeah.
And I would swim underwater in the baby pool
Yeah.
from one end of it to the other, you know.
Yeah.
So this one day, they were letting the water out of the big pool. And so I could go over, I could jump over the wall there, and on my tiptoes I could bounce up and get a breath of air.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did as far as I could go, and I could go all the way around that pool.
Yeah.
So I started going around in the deeper and deeper parts, and that was so much fun until I got to the drain.
Did you get stuck?
And I was stuck.
Oh my goodness.
I was stuck. I called for my brother, and all I was doing was making bubbles.
Yeah.
And so, happily there was a lifeguard that was watching.
Wow.
Came and pulled me off the
That is
grate
crazy.
there. So, I'll look him up in heaven.
Yeah. Say thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. What school did you go to?
Anderson Township.
Anderson Township.
That was 12 years I went.
What subjects were your favorites?
In high school,
Yeah.
guess everything was laid out for you in the grade school, but in high school I liked biology and science. I didn't care much about math.
Mm-hmm. I don't like math either.
I don't know any others.
Yeah.
I didn't do well in art. But I did do band.
What did you play in band?
I played the sousaphone.
Sousaphone.
And
I did not know that.
yeah, that's not a very proud
Proud instrument.
time of it. Yeah, but it was kind of fun. I had fun in the band.
Yeah.
And so that gave me quite a bit of marching experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to the Navy Reserve, that is,
Mm-hmm.
we'd march every place we went. And they couldn't find a guy to be the right guard arm, I think. Right on guard,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And so they finally got to me, and so I fit the bill because I had a little bit of history about
Yeah, you knew what you had some prior experience.
Experience,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, everywhere we marched, I was a rate guide on. That's the name of it, rate guide on.
Which and then that would like keep the tempo for everyone else and
Keep everybody together.
yeah.
And we would go to lunch, go to breakfast, and other marches that we had, I had to stay on the right guide on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little different.
Did you have any chores growing up?
Any?
Like household chores and stuff? You and Raymond?
Oh yeah, we cut the grass, and of course we take out the garbage and all that kind of stuff.
What was some of the stuff you did for fun when you were a kid?
We had Mount Washington swimming pool, and I would ride my bike over there and swim over there.
Who taught you how to swim? Or did you just figured it out?
I don't know who taught me to swim. I just swam. And then we would go over to the Williams Y. We'd go over there every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond and I on the bus. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What did you do at the YMCA?
Well, mainly the thing that I did was swimming.
Yeah.
I loved to swim.
Yeah.
And then we'd have a time out, and we would lift weights and stuff like that.
Yeah. Did you have any after school jobs or anything like that?
Yeah, I worked at a grocery store for a little bit of time. I didn't like that very well. And so I guess my boss didn't like it very well either. So, Neighbor House Grocery is the name of it. So I didn't work there very long.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in I was a sophomore. And second grade high school. And I flunked my English. And I did that on purpose.
You did?
Yeah. I did not want to write a paper on Julius Caesar. I hadn't read it, and I had my back up, and I was being bad.
Yeah. The truth comes out.
Yeah. And so I went to summer school, and that was much nicer
Been working at the grocery store.
than working at the grocery store. And I think I worked at Dad's plumbing shop for a while too.
Mm.
During that time. But the next year, I made sure that I flunked English because there was all these girls there,
At summer school.
at summer school,
That's hilarious.
and I took typing, and I've never used typing yet, but I do use it quite a bit.
Yeah.
As everybody does now.
Yep.
But that was probably a good thing for me to do.
All right.
So there was a time that I remember very well where and I don't know how old I was, but I was very young, and I remember going up to the altar when the altar roll was called,
Mm-hmm.
and Jack Stanley and what was their name? Peggy, Eileen Keeman, John Keeman.
Okay.
They coached me and led me to the Lord at that time. And so, you know,
How old were you then?
we were still going over to Columbia Methodist Church. And when we started out, we were in Columbia Methodist Church. And then we moved to the Christian Missionary Alliance Church.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during the time I was at the Christian Missionary Alliance Church. I stayed there until after we were married.
What values were important to your parents? Were they Christians as well?
Oh yeah. When Mom and Dad were first married, they wanted to take a vacation. And so they did. They went on this vacation up to Michigan. And Uncle Ernest lived up there, and Aunt Bessie were their names. And I can't hardly remember their last names now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they were very good Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a leader in Ford Motor Company at the time. And so he had permission to hold Bible studies in his office.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's awesome.
And I remember one time during that stay, I walked in down to Ernest's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "It's all right, son. Come on in." He says, "I'm just thanking the Lord for what he's done." He was kneeling there by his bed. And so that impressed me so well. And his daughter was Aunt Dorothy. And so they lived on a farm, and they had horses, and I was able to ride horses with them. And they became missionaries.
Uncle Ernest and
No, Dorothy,
Dorothy.
and I remember her name was Crouch.
You met Grandma at church, right? Where did you meet Grandma at?
Youth for Christ.
Youth for Christ.
Ronnie Messmer and I would sort of hang out.
Mm-hmm.
He was older than me, and he could drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would go down to Youth for Christ. It was I was in the 8th Street and
8th and Elm.
Elm Street.
8th and Elm, in the old Covenant Presbyterian Church.
And someone of our group was married there.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful church.
Yeah.
There was a great big, like a, what would you call it? A parkway
Mm-hmm.
that goes down between the middle of the streets.
Oh yeah, like those little median.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a cover for the old subway.
Oh.
And the subway was gone. Had no idea about the subway. But that's where we met.
Mm-hmm.
But then we continued to go to Youth for Christ. And we were married at Glad Tidings. Peggy went to Glad Tidings. And so we were married there at Glad Tidings.
Describe your wedding. What was your wedding like?
Well, it was kind of nice. In fact, I thought it was real nice. And
Was it a lot of people or just a few?
there was a lot of people because people came from Christian Missionary Alliance, and they came from Glad Tidings. So there was a lot of people there. And So we didn't have enough room, and bad tidings for a reception or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up to the Masonic Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and we had our reception there. And the funny thing about that was Leah got the cake, right, Peg? And
No, Dad and Mom picked up the cake and dropped it.
and
And they dropped
they
it.
put it in the trunk of the car, and by the time we got it over the church or the Masonic temple there, it had all fallen apart.
Oh my gosh.
And so they quickly got it down in the basement. They put it all together. And
Did
so
did it
know
look
the
bad?
difference. Huh?
So it looked all right.
Yeah,
It
Oh
looked
my
okay.
gosh.
they didn't tell us the story till afterwards.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, good thing. Yeah. You would have been a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
How long were you guys married without kids?
A little over a year.
A little over a year. Okay.
Well, we were married in April, and we had Bobby in May.
Okay. Yeah. So how did having kids change your life?
Well, we both wanted children,
Mm-hmm.
and well, Mom had to quit her job
Mm-hmm.
down at the telephone company because they couldn't be pregnant and work at it.
How long have you guys been married now?
We were married 60 years.
60 years. When? So you guys got? You said was it April? You got married?
April.
April. Because you're 60.
One day, we were coming down Columbia Parkway. I remember the day very well.
65 years. We've been married 65 years. I knew that one right when
Yeah.
our anniversary this year was 65 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Graduated in 57. Got married in 58 and had Bobby in 59.
Yeah.
She's a close second to get graduated
Yeah.
married.
And we decided to wait a while for Bonnie, 4 years.
4 years.
And then there was 2 years in between Beth, 2 years between Beth and
Becky and then
Becky.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of strayed from my story.
Yeah, I asked you like how having kids changed your life. Yeah. And then you talked about Columbia Parkway. You were driving down Columbia Parkway.
Oh, and I had made some kind of a crack about this is no reason for a divorce, or this is not ground. He's talking about some kind of coffee grounds or something.
Yeah.
This is not grounds for divorce. And then I said, let's just totally stop right here.
Yeah.
That'll be the last time we make any reference to divorce.
Yeah.
And I guess that was as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's been a lot of rough times.
Mm-hmm.
One time I threw a bowl of cereal at Peg, and that's well known.
Do you remember that?
what would I throw back? Mashed potatoes?
No, it was whipped cream, canned whipped cream, ready whipped.
Oh my God.
And she sprayed it all over me.
And then
Do you remember what the fight was about?
I know.
No.
No.
Then we started laughing.
Yeah.
But this was never to be told. Don't you ever tell your grandma. So the next time Peggy went over to visit our mother,
Yeah.
her mother, she says.
Grandma Pete, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did she say?
I think she said something about whipped cream. She said,
And you guys started laughing.
yeah, have you bought a new can of whipped cream yet? I said, and he said, you told. And then we all laughed.
Yeah. What advice would you give your grandkids or your great grandkids or your great grandkids on being married 65 years?
We said we'd never go to bed naked, remember? We would never, no matter what happened in the day, we would never go to bed naked at each other.
And so this one night I was so mad, and I came in and I laid down on the couch, and I took newspapers and I spread them all over me for covers. That's a pretty good cover.
Yeah.
But then she came in and she begged me to come back into bed. And I said, okay, I forgive you.
I don't know what we were mad about then.
No.
Seems like that's a common thing. You're so mad in the moment, and then you don't even remember what it was about.
I remember that. The newspapers and coming in and asking to come back into bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot remember what we fussed about.
What do you admire most about Grandma?
What do I admire most about you? Well, I don't know either. But it's just a love that I have that I'll never forget through eternity.
What about your faith? If you want your family to be remembered by something, you got Abraham and then Isaac. So Abraham passed his faith down to generations. So your faith was passed down to you, and you're passing the faith down to the generations. What things do you want to be said about your family?
Well, I want them to know that I love God, and I want to know them that it's mutual between her and I.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, I don't think you could pass it down.
What do you think is your greatest accomplishment?
Well, the greatest accomplishment I think would be that our children all love the Lord. I think that their husbands, their spouses, all love the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Their children are brought up to be loving the Lord.
Yep.
And so I think that's their greatest accomplishment.
It's a pretty awesome accomplishment. I think that's it.
All righty.